G'day and welcome to another episode of Kiwi Car Life. And before we get into the topic of today's video, allow me to give you a bit of context. Last year I made a video titled, "Are BMWs Reliable?" which naturally caused some controversy. I don't think anyone is arguing that BMWs as a whole are known to be dependable. Anyone who's bought a 4-cylinder BMW purely for the badge, or a V8 BMW wanting power, will know the disheartening sensation of having the rod bearings, or the valve stem seals, or the timing chain guides disintegrating with a many $1,000 bill following. But I feel like there are certain BMW models that are definitely better than the rest of the pack. My 130i, for example, did 8 track days and 20,000 kilometers in my ownership without a single problem. My M3 was one of the most incredible cars I've owned, and once I manual swapped it, it was rock solid. Me and Angel's Z4s were super fun to cruise around in and didn't give us any trouble, and Angel's sister's 330i is still going strong. The theme there, all of those cars came with simple and reliable naturally aspirated straight-six engines, which is the golden rule of buying a cheap BMW. Stay away from anything with a turbo, direct injection, and an engine configuration that doesn't have 6 cylinders. Follow that rule and you should find yourself driving one of the best driving cars for the money that also happens to have a lovely sounding straight-six with a decent interior, and provided you buy your parts from the right places, they don't really cost that much more than an ordinary car to maintain. However, recently I've started to break my own rule and, well, I'm paying the price for it. My turbocharged M135i was great up until last month when the Valvetronic motor packed up. And then with marriage and house buying on the horizon, I decided it's probably about time to sell off my fleet and just have one simple, cheap-ish car that can sort of do everything. All I want is a simple and reliable straight-six BMW, and hopefully once it's all complete, this will be it.
I've gone back to following my golden rule and bought a New Zealand new 2003 BMW 330i. Aside from the lack of manual gearbox, just like the 325i coupe I bought, it's perfect spec with M Sport exterior and suspension, delightful looking 18-inch wheels, black Euro plates, and inside it has M Sport seats and steering wheel with cruise control and a factory radio. A week after winning the auction, I flew to Auckland to pick it up, and after going to a very cool Cars and Coffee with heaps of exciting cars and filming a few reviews you'll see on the channel soon, I hit the road home. And man, what a car. Even with the 5-speed auto, the engine just sounds fantastic. Steering feel is flawless, suspension comfortable but still sporty, the seats hug you like a mum on graduation day, not to mention the timeless design and shop windows as you drive past.
This is my kind of car, and already I feel that with some Kiwi Car Life restoration treatment and potentially a manual gearbox down the line, this is the kind of car that I would be more than happy to drive for many years to come. So let's get to work restoring the 330i back to its former glory. Predictably, with it being an old BMW, it's not perfect, but everything that it needs is relatively inexpensive to fix. The headlights are quite cloudy and the indicator lenses are cracked on both sides. The front bumper's got plenty of stone chips and there's some mysterious dents on the roof. But hopefully with some touch-up paint, an almighty exterior polish, and the removal of this ugly tow bar hitch down here, we should be able to get the exterior at least looking really rather good. Inside, the steering wheel desperately needs recovering. The headliner is sagging a tiny bit in the corners and here on the A-pillars. The leather on the centre armrest is a bit worn out, and all of this fake carbon fibre wrap all over the dash and doors has got to go. But fortunately, the leather seats are in pretty decent condition and everything works, including the air conditioning. The engine sounds great and pulls very strongly, the transmission seems to be healthy, and surprisingly, it doesn't appear to be leaking any oil from anywhere. However, this wouldn't be an old BMW if it wasn't leaking something. There's a very slight coolant leak coming from somewhere around the expansion tank. As I drove it home, the low coolant light came and went at seemingly completely random intervals, but the temperature gauge never went over half, so I'm assuming that it's not significant enough to cause all of the coolant to come out. But naturally, I don't really want my car blowing up, so we're definitely going to need to get that coolant leak sorted. But the good news is, pretty much everything else seems to be good to go.
And I also discovered the previous owner had over $2,000 worth of work done right before he sold it. The air filter, pollen filter, oil filter housing gasket, PCV, intake manifold gasket, and a few coolant pipes were all changed along with an engine service. So that's a bonus, but despite that, of course, it's still leaking coolant from the top radiator hose and the fan belt screeches every now and then. So I set to work taking out the airbox, MAF sensor, coolant send hose, top hose, expansion tank, and electric radiator fan before popping off the old accessory belts. Frankly, the old ones seemed to be in perfectly adequate condition, so I really have no idea why they were chirping away, but with the brand new belts installed, I could at least be confident they wouldn't make any further noise now. I also installed a nice shiny expansion tank and top radiator hose to hopefully keep any coolant leaks at bay before bleeding the whole system properly. And as I had hoped, the leaks went away, and after a lengthy drive, the level stayed right where it was supposed to. And thanks to all of the work the last owner had done right before I picked it up, that's about all the maintenance an M54 can possibly need. So now it's time to chip away at the exterior. The first thing I did was straighten up the number plates because whoever installed them originally made an absolute meal of it. I also undid what felt like 1,000 bolts to take the rear bumper off before removing the tow bar. Annoyingly though, unlike most cars where the bumper and tow bar attach separately, with these BMWs the tow bar bolts to the car, but the bumper bolts to the tow bar. Therefore, to get rid of the tow bar, I had no choice but to get a non-tow bar rear crash bar from Pick Apart and swap it onto my bumper. I'd say it was worth it though, because the tow barless E46 rear end looks so much cleaner, and having the bumper off also gave me a chance to polish my exhaust tips. I also undid an equally enormous quantity of bolts to get the faded headlights and cracked indicators swapped out with far better condition ones from Pick Apart. Fortunately, unlike most cars, removing the headlights didn't require me to take the bumper off too, but it was definitely quite the arduous process. However, now with straight number plates, clear headlights and no tow hitch round the back, I felt I was ready to get washing and polishing. I set to work soaping down the whole car, removing all of the road spray from the rainy drive home from Auckland. The wheels came up nicely with a bit of brake dust remover, and with the whole car dried off and clay barred, I set to work polishing. As I've said before, I vowed to never own a black car in the past because I was always told they get really hot and show a lot of scratches. Plus, I've just generally preferred brighter coloured cars like my awesome orange Integra, blue Euro R, red ISF or yellow Skoda. But the positives of owning a black car is once you give them a mega clean and a thorough cut and polish along with touching up any of the particularly noticeable scratches, wow do they look absolutely incredible with a depth to the paint that ordinary colours like silver and grey just don't have. So with the outside of the 330i complete, I moved inside and swapped the centre armrest with one in better condition, and then made the mistake of removing the ugly carbon fibre wrap. I didn't realise there were screws underneath the gearshift trim, so while removing the wrap revealed the nice hexagonal pattern that matches the dashboard, it now no longer sat flush, and all of the door cards were probably wrapped in carbon to begin with because the texture was starting to peel off anyway. So I decided to spray paint them black, which didn't look great, but at least it was more factory than carbon fibre wrap. I re-glued the fabric on the A-pillar trim and attacked the steering wheel with some glue remover to get rid of all of the horrible double-sided tape someone had stuck on in the past. After vacuuming all of the lovely BMW carpet that's super high quality and easy to clean, I put some conditioner on all of the leather seats, and then apart from the broken clock adjuster and the gauges that means I can't set the time, and the headliner sag and dents in the roof I can't really do much about, the 234,000 km 330i was done. The 330i is a far cry from when I first picked it up in Auckland. The steering wheel actually feels nice, it's not covered in tape. The armrest closes properly, the interior is clean, and everything now works. On the outside, every panel has been polished, the headlights are new, there's no more ugly tow bar around the back, and the engine doesn't leak and it doesn't screech. This is now a very lovely car. Even though it's not manual, and it is pretty old and high Ks, it only owes me $4,000, and I'm happy with it. The cruise control works great for open road driving, and you've got a lovely 170 kilowatt 3-litre straight six up the front. Oh, which hauls this thing along at an almighty rate of knots for a 22.
5-year-old car. And look, sure, the ZF5 is definitely not an especially stellar transmission. It's pretty sloppy when just cruising around. It doesn't rev match downshifts, but it is adequate for a car of this sort of vintage. And it kicks down pretty quick. Bang, down to second, right to 6,500, into third. Oh yeah, what a machine. This, in my mind, is one of the best value for money cars that you can buy, which is why I bought it. It looks great on the outside, has a pretty reliable and fantastic sounding straight six with enough power to get you in a bit of trouble down a road like this. And on Potenza Sport tyres, man, it handles well, eh? The M Sport suspension keeps body roll to a minimum. It manages to be comfortable, but also just tear up a road like this. Wow, it handles so good. Hydraulic steering, so you know exactly what the front end is doing, and simply glorious rear-wheel drive balance, and a transmission. Oh, if traction control doesn't interfere, that just does what you ask. Yes, it's an old car, it's high Ks, it's definitely not perfect, but for my purposes, where I'm just looking for something that's pretty fast, handles well, looks great on the outside, but above all else is just cheap and affordable motoring in a time where I am looking to downsize my fleet and put together some funds for a house deposit. It just makes sense. Well, there we are. The 330i is complete. I hope you've enjoyed this look at one of BMW's finest from the early 2000s. I am very happy with this car. The more I drive it, the more I am falling in love with it. Down the track, I may look to put a manual transmission in it. We'll see. But for now, even with the Slushbox Auto, this is, for the price, a really, really great car. So, thanks for watching, and I will very much look forward to seeing you again. Oh yes, straight six. Next time.